Marshal Matt Wayne hunts a dangerous kidnapper.
In one of the small ironies of show business, NBC brought Ruth Lyons back to national television for a one-week stand on the very show that originally led to her departure from the network.
Good morning. This is today, April 21st, 1958. 8 o'clock is our time, and the day is Monday.
Oh.
And our program comes to you from the RCA Exhibition Hall on 49th Street in New York City. Now, here is Dave Garroway.
If I may say so, you surely
Although
don't say
Ruth
Monday
fought
like
gamely
you say
to
Friday.
fit today's format, her discomfort was palpable.
That's Ruth Lyons in the middle there. How's it feel to be in the middle?
I don't feel like I'm in the middle at all. I've been having a wonderful time.
Good.
Enjoying every minute of it.
Don't move an inch then.
I won't go away.
Ruth will be talking to us this morning.
But hard news was still an all-male preserve in the 1950s, leaving Ruth with fluffy leftovers for the ladies.
Now for the women's group, here is Ruth Lyons.
This is fun to be in Frank Blair's league. If you think you have trouble concealing your age, consider the case of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II.
On one occasion, Ruth tried to generate verbal sparks by playing to Garroway's well-known love of cars.
This battered automobile slid in right under this sign in a San Diego window, a sign advertising anti-skid wax. No one was injured. It's not known whether a woman driver was involved, but I'll bet it was a man.
8 cents. Let's see about the weather map this morning. How does it look? Well,
There simply wasn't enough time for Garroway to swap good-natured jibes with Ruth. Her style also didn't mesh well with today's highly formatted structure.
They were time regimented, and Ruth was not a time person. She could not get herself going into fixed breaks, et cetera, et cetera.
NBC's parent company wasn't the least bit concerned. RCA had bigger plans in store for Ruth. Color television had arrived, but consumer resistance was stiff. The first receivers were unreliable, and the lowest price models started at $495. In today's money, that's a budget-busting $3,600. She was already the talk of Madison Avenue for her ability to turn viewers into buyers. RCA wanted to know, could Ruth Lyons turn an expensive luxury item into a household necessity?
She talked about it so much that her show is going to go in color. And you got to get a color set, girl, so you can watch me, she'd say.
From the moment WLWT's new color cameras were fired up on August 9, 1957, Ruth never missed an opportunity to let black and white viewers know what they were missing.
How about that red coat? Isn't that beautiful? That's the reddest coat. Have you seen color television? Mm-hmm. Huh? Do you see yourself in there in your red coat?
Yes.
Did you ever think you'd be able to see that? Doesn't that kind of surprise you a little bit? It does me. Isn't that beautiful on colored television? Now, why bother to try to paint a still life when you can see something like that? I just wish every one of you had it every day to see everything.
Isn't that beautiful?
You know, you see something, you think, I wonder what color that dress is. You know what color that dress is.
Searching for fresh ways to generate interest in the technology, Ruth thought about her earliest days in TV and one of her pet peeves.
Will you quit waving in the camera? Now listen, I gave you one opportunity to wave, and you waved, and you looked just as simple as you could. Now, do you want to do it all over again?
No, I don't believe I do.
Well, what's the matter with you? Every time I look at you, you're giving it this. Now, do you want to wave?
I have a little boy at home, and he's watching me, and I'd like to wave.
But you
at
did
him.
it once. Do you
Well-
have to do it again?
Well, I
Well,
suppose
stand
I
up
did.
and get it over with. I just can't stand. Go ahead. Now, are you better?
Yeah, I feel better now.
Doggone, as craziest women I ever saw.
In 1958, Ruth cleverly turned a distracting behavior into an unforgettable promotional tool. She found her solution by writing a song.
Let's wave to the folks who are watching. Say hello to the folks listening in. We want you to see, and we hope you agree, we really are lovely on color TV. We wish you were with us. We want you to know we're having a ball on the show. So we wave you a great big hello.
We're here from the farms and the cities. We We have come from both near and afar. We travel by train, by car and by bus, and we hope you will all take a good look at us. We wish you were with us and want you to know that we're finally here at the show. And so we wave you a great big hello.
Within 2 years, Cincinnati had more colored TV sets per person than any other city in America, twice as many as New York, and the other Crossley markets weren't far behind. Cincinnati became known as Color Town, USA, and RCA officials gave the credit to Ruth.
This was unbelievable. You can talk about the things that she sold in enormous numbers for various companies over the years, but that doesn't really tell you exactly the kind of power she had. The kind of power she had was to say to the ladies, you know what, you would look so great in color. That dress is beautiful. I have never seen a print just that color. And look at it, we got to see it in this dumb black and white when we could do it in color. All you've got to do is get your color television set, you know, and then when we wave, you know, the folks at home will be able to see you exactly as you are.
You know that we're finally here at the show, and so we wave you a great big hello. Hello!
With an unending string of successes attached to her name, Look, McCall's, and other national magazines began sending reporters to Cincinnati. They all seemed to ask the same questions. What was Ruth Lyons' secret? Were the legends true?
Tickets for her programs often were sent out 3 or more years in advance. I mean, they were so valuable. The people even left the tickets to their heirs in their wills. But that's how special a trip to Ruth's program was. It was a red letter day. And they came from all over, metropolitan areas, small towns, farms.
Visitors quickly learned that Ruth Lyons' 50/50 Club was more than just a TV show. It was an experience.
One of the nice things about it that it added to the pleasure was the fact that they had a luncheon in the studio before airtime.
They would take them to the third floor studio. They had tables set up in there with napkins with numbers on them, which they took with them because that's what they drew the prizes from. The food was wonderful, and they pay $1.25 for the ticket. So they would have lunch, and at about, I guess, quarter of or 20 of, they would start hauling them upstairs and get them in the studio for the show that started at noon.
Stand by.
Cue orchestra.
WLW Radio and WLW Color Television present Ruth Lyons and the fabulous 50/50 Club. And now, here is the star of the 50/50 Club show, in person, Ruth Lyons.
If you couldn't wait 3 years to visit Mother, then Mother might visit you.
We went to Indianapolis, Dayton, and Columbus annually to do a show.
On the 21st of October, we're moving the entire show to Columbus to do the show at where we, you know, that beautiful Veterans Memorial Hall. We'll do the entire show up there that day, everybody. You will come. You will be there, Peter. Ruby, Marion, Bonnie, the boys in the band. I hope you have no engagements on the 21st of October.
We'll cancel.
If so, you'll cancel them, yes. It accommodates 4,000 people. And the last time we went to Columbus, we had over 40,000 requests.
And the ladies would be lined up around the building. I mean, it was a packed place. And Ruth would come in, not on the stage, she would come down one of the aisles, the center aisle usually.
And here's Ruth Lyons.
Thank you all for coming.
The adoring looks, the tears, the hands reaching out to her, it was like the Pope. I mean, it was, I'm telling you, it brought tears to my eyes. I mean, women loved her.
Admirers and even occasional detractors usually agreed on one point. Ruth Lyons seemed genuine.
Didn't seem genuine. She was genuine.
And you knew that just from watching. And I think in my mom's case, she knew that from listening.
This was the first time I had seen an adult just behaving normally on television. I didn't for a second believe that I was watching a persona that had been synthesized for television. I was watching a friend of my mother's, a relative, a neighbor. You know, Ruth Lyons to me was just like part of the family.
It was just me and my mom having peanut butter jelly sandwiches and soup and watching Ruth Lyons.
Declaring Ruth Lyons to be the most valuable, the most sought-after non-network property in television today, the Ladies' Home Journal broke its own precedent by spotlighting Ruth in not one, but two major articles. When the magazine hit stores and newsstands in April 1960, it became the largest-selling issue in the publication's history. The Saturday Evening Post crowned Ruth Queen of TV, calling her one of the most powerful housewives in America. While American Home took readers on a tour of Ruth's 130-year-old farmhouse filled with her cherished early American antiques. But none of the magazines would ever penetrate a tightly guarded personal world that was quiet and to some, a little lonely.
Ruth had no social life. She had no friends. She went nowhere, did nothing. The show was her whole life. I mean, she didn't belong to any country clubs. Just didn't go anywhere and do anything. She had her husband, she had Candy, and she had Callie, her maid or whatever. She knew everybody, but didn't do anything with it. She preferred to stay home and watch TV and read and things like that.
Ruth didn't need to live like a celebrity to feel at ease with established stars. For up-and-coming performers, her endorsement could spell the difference between obscurity and success.
An artist would die to be on the show because if you were on the show, you'd make it.
Today, he's world famous as the conductor of the Philly Pops. But in 1961, pianist Peter Nero was setting out on a tour to promote his first major record album.
I was told that when I would hit Cincinnati, that would be the most important show of all the cities and all the shows that I would be doing.
The first album I had was, it had an arrangement of Tea for Two on it, where I combined the Tchaikovsky Fifth Symphony theme with Tea for Two. And the orchestra would play one of the two themes and the piano would play the other theme. When I was asked to play, and she asked me to play that one, to my surprise, she sat down at the organ and she started to play the orchestra part. Now she had no music for it. She never asked for it, she never got it, and she picked it off the record. A very talented lady. And she was such a proponent of my music.
Tomorrow, I want you to be sure, I don't care what you have to do tomorrow, get it done in the morning or do it in the afternoon. I want you to be sure and tune in here. Our guest will be Mr. Peter Nero. And he's going to play 4 numbers from his brand new album.
Every time I would do an appearance on her show, she would announce at the end of the show that I was going to be over at Chilito's across the street signing my latest record. And she said to the people, you go over there and you buy that record even if you don't have a phonograph. And we would clean out about 500 albums in the space of an hour.
Whether unknown or legendary, all performers on the 50-50 Club had to accept one condition, and it wasn't negotiable.
Ruth always had a rule saying that guests had to perform. Otherwise, she wouldn't let them on the show.
In spite of her great success during the 1950s, Kitty Callan developed a nervous condition that eventually made it impossible for her to sing in front of audiences. When Callan planned to lip-sync her latest record on the 50-50 Club, Ruth threatened to cancel her appearance.
Well, anyway, they worked out an arrangement where Kitty came onto the show. Ruth put her hand around her, put her arm around her, and absolutely told her that it was okay to sing, and it made national news.
Ruth's spontaneity and sense of fun made the 50-50 Club a must for comedians. Her admirers ranged from veterans like Henny Youngman and Milton Berle to the new wave represented by Mort Saul, Shelley Berman, and a former housewife forging a new career in stand-up comedy.
I remember that I had difficulty getting on Ruth Lyons' show. I probably had a kind of an unsavory little part of me where I was the only female comic, which might have caused people a little franticness. Well, what is that? You know, how dare a woman make jokes and be funny and make fun of things? I think it took a little pressure to get me on that show. And I wanted desperately to be on it because, of course, I'd heard about Ruth Lyons because, you know, she had a big reputation. And so when I finally got on, I was pretty thrilled. It was fun and it was funny. She's the only person who ever interviewed me who invited my real husband, Sherwood Diller, on to the show to come out and sit on the couch. And he was totally terrified. I've never seen a man so terrified.
Producers of touring Broadway shows also sought to book their stars on the 50/50 Club, recognizing that sitting next to Ruth on her rocking love seat meant long lines at the box office.
It was really after I got out of college that I realized that if you're going to play the Midwest, if you're going to play Ohio, doing Ruth Lyons was the key to the Midwest.
We went to Columbus, Ohio. We played there 5 times, demanded we come back again. And it was all Ruth that did it.
They say, well, you've got to do Ruth Lyons. That's the only one that really affects our business. Doesn't matter. You can do, you know, the Tonight Show or whatever, but Ruth Lyons puts butts on seats, you know.
She said, everybody go and see Carol. Now listen, you don't want to miss the best show of the year. When she said that, everyone believed her. When she sent people to go and see your show, they came. And they'd all come backstage and say, Ruth said us, you know.
No matter how captivating or imposing her guest could be, one thing remained constant.
You never knew what Ruth was going to do or say, ever.
Yeah, now back to a D7. Now we begin to build.
Viewers might find her teaching classical virtuoso Van Cliburn how to play chopsticks.
All right, we'll sing that together.
Or inviting herself to belt out a song with Tony Bennett.
All these years is you, Tony.
You know what we have to do is make one of those stereo records. You come out of one speaker and I come out of the other.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
They turn the one speaker off, I'd never get out.
Ruth always had the final say in approving guests for her program, but she was also willing to listen to advice from others, including her husband.
I remember that she didn't want to have him on. She just didn't think that she would be someone that she would enjoy. She talked to Herman about it, and Herman said, Ruth, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't do that. I mean, he's a very, very famous entertainer. And she said, oh, okay. Well, he came. He was the most charming, fun, talkative. She loved him. She just loved him. And they spent I bet they spent 2 hours in her office. We're playing the piano, he was playing, and then she would play some of her songs, and they would say, they had a ball. And she actually told the story on the air. She said, he is wonderful, and anytime he's in town, he's welcome to come on the show. She loved him to death. And he signed her book, and then when the guests would leave, they would sign, it was like a big album, you know, and they would sign their names. Well, he signed his name, huge writing, and drew a piano with a, what do you call it, a candelabra on it.
Over the years, millions of youngsters would share Liberace's fondness for the children's marching song.
You march with me, do you know this? I'll march with you. We'll wave our flag, the red, white, and blue. We'll show the world the right thing to do. If you march with me and I march with you. Now you know it and you won't sing it. Now come on, let's sing it.
Today, it may seem naive, maybe even a little corny, but the marching song was part of Ruth's policy of providing something for everyone, from grandparents to grandchildren.
I think the fact that she had appealed to my mother and appealed to a fourth grade kid, well, that tells you quite a bit about her appeal. It was, pretty much universal.
And that universality was reinforced by an eclectic array of guests worthy of any national primetime program. Of all the personalities who came to Cincinnati to chat with Ruth, one stands above the rest. Bob Hope's achievements as a comedian and humanitarian made him arguably the most admired man in America during the early 60s. Receiving the kind of press coverage usually reserved for presidents and visiting heads of state, Hope made his first appearance on the 50/50 Club in May 1963. What you're about to see is taken from the only recording of Ruth Lyons' 50/50 Club to survive in its entirety.
And today we have the honor of having the man who is never home for Christmas. I don't think Bob Hope has spent a Christmas at home. I don't know how long it's been, but I'm very anxious to find out, and I hope you will give him a very warm Cincinnati welcome, Mr. Bob Hope. I got kind of shook up when I saw him. I cry at all your shows. I cry at every show you do at Christmas time. I cry from the opening to the end.
You're not my sponsor. You're not supposed to cry, honey.
Oh, when you entertain those boys away from home. And how many years have you been away for Christmas?
Well, since 48.
Since 48, yeah. Every Christmas.
Stuart Simon.
Boy, you're good looking. I had no idea you were so handsome.
You want to dance?
Oh, yes, I'd love to. And I've never seen you sit down before. I didn't know whether you bent at the middle or not.
It is strange, I'll tell you that.
You always are standing up doing your shows.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Sit down and relax. Are you
Thank
tired?
You. I like this.
Oh,
my God. How far do you go here?
Well, now, don't overdo it, Bob. Just take it easy, will you? Well, I can't tell you how proud and delighted we are to have you here in Cincinnati.
Thank you, Ruth. I've run into a lot of your friends lately.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did a booksellers convention with Hedda Hopper in Pasadena.
Oh, I love her
and
so.
Then I was on with Godfrey the other morning, and that's all they talked about. And then
he was down here about a week and a half ago,
then I ran into a group at NBC New York, and they're very Ruth Lyons minded. I'll tell you
really?
that. Yeah.
Well, of course, they kind of like you too, Bob. You know that.
Yeah, but you kind of got this all wrapped up here in color. You got the whole state waving here.
I had a crush on Bing Crosby, at least.
Well, that tips off your age.
It really does, because he was quite young then.
Yeah, when I went to the coast, he was a used buffalo dealer.
When you go out to our ballpark here now,
Yeah.
you'll see a mess because we're building a new freeway there, you see.
How about the team?
Well, that's a mess too right now. Yes, quite a mess.
I said to the cab driver coming over here for Peter last night, he was talking about the game, a little grumpy about it too, and I said, well, wait a minute, the Reds, aren't they supposed to win some? He says, yeah, a ball game.
And I think an evening spent with you would be just about as delightful as anything I can think of, frankly.
Except
I mean, when you, no, I mean on the stage. I don't mean anything personal by that, Bob. I mean...
All I know is what I hear.
Sometimes I wish I'd keep my mouth shut, you know, but this'll never happen. This'll never happen.
You better not. You got an hour and a half here. You go pretty good.
You've never heard me sing.
Why don't we do a little something?
I will if you'll join me.
All right,
huh?
I will.
All right, come on. Sure. Let me put it in the network. This may close something. Let us entertain you. Let me make you smile. I will try a few tricks, some old and then some new tricks. I'm very versatile. And if you're real good, I'll make you feel good. I want your spirits to climb. So let me entertain you, and we'll have a real good time. Yes, sir, we'll have a real good time. A new team is born. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, sweetheart. So nice to see you.
It's been a real honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
Mr. Bob Hope, I know you enjoyed it.